welcome back to the recruitment aversion. This week we've got a mini announcement to make. So Lizzie has actually ventured on to a new opportunity. So in the meantime, we've got Hannah joining us for the next few episodes. Hannah is a recruitment consultant at Sterling Warrington, so enjoy the episode. So today we're joined by Matthew Arrowsmith. He is currently working at Hunter Bond in London, but he can tell you a little bit more about himself now.
Yeah, hi guys. Thanks for having me on. My name's Matthew Arrowsmith. I currently work for Hunter Bonds. We're a specialist fintech headhunter in London. I currently head up the learning and development. I do manage a lot of the internal recruitment function here. I also host the Hunter Bond podcast as well, which is a podcast more focused towards fintechs and technology markets. I've been in recruitment for over 10 years. I've had my own business at one point. I've been a technology 360 recruitment consultant. I've done delivery of RPOs. So I've got lots of different exposure, whether it be operations, training development, and actual recruitment itself. Happy to be here to talk about recruitment a little bit today with you guys.
Brilliant. So obviously we're going to have you on for the next couple of episodes on our podcast. This episode we'll be discussing how businesses can improve their recruitment processes in response to this candidate-driven market that we're in at the moment. So just to start off, in your opinion, what challenges, are companies going to be facing at the moment in this current market?
Yeah, especially when you talk about a candidate-driven market or a candidate short market, especially where I work in technology, you find that there's more jobs, there's more vacancies, more companies hiring than there are suitable candidates. Especially when you're talking about very specialist markets, maybe looking for quite specific or niche individuals, especially within engineering and manufacturing. And how are you going to attract these candidates, but also win these candidates over your competitors or other maybe bigger, more established businesses potentially? So whether it be your recruitment efforts and the tools or resources you use, but your ability to actually brand yourself and attract talent and actually win talent over other competitors, there's a lot of different things you can be doing, whether it be your interview processes, your interview structures, your ability to sell, brand yourself, but also actually get yourself out there. I'm sure there's a lot of Hunter Bond, for instance, our recruitment business. I like to say we've got a very good sell here in terms of attracting recruiters. But I mean, many candidates looking to get into recruitment probably wouldn't even heard of Hunter Bond. So it's your ability to also put yourself out there to be even seen or known about necessarily.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get into that a little bit then, because for our company, we, for ourselves, we've got a team of marketing people and they put us out there and we've got a big, sort of thing on LinkedIn, saying who we are. But I think a lot of companies, they don't really think to do that. And for me, I actually sort of mainly recruit in the marketing space. And it's really interesting because I'll be recruiting for marketing agencies who obviously are recruiting marketing people, but they haven't got any marketing about themselves. So, the marketers going in and they're having a look on their LinkedIn page and they're seeing nothing and they don't know who they're going in for. So, I think that is such a huge thing. I think your personal marketing as a company, it needs to be out there and you need to be selling yourself as a business. I mean, not only just for yourselves and your whatever product, but for future employees.
Well, I don't do marketing recruitment, but I do kind of finance, customer service, sales, and it's the same. We as recruiters actually have to go and sell that company even more because we can't be like, oh, take a look at our website, because there's nothing there to see. Well, right now I'm working with a company who have let us do their marketing. So we are producing videos for them. So it's really great to be able to go to my candidates and say, watch this video, this was the team fit, you'll learn all about them. And I think when you're going to interview, then you watch these videos, it's so nice to have, oh, I know you, oh, I saw your video. It's really open, it's really friendly, and I think it's a great way to sell themselves per se.
Well, yeah, I mean, the tool there is your employers are using you as a tool to do that. And, they that's what they pay us the money to do, to advertise them, to promote them, to persuade candidates to join their business over competitors. But if you're putting all of this money and investment into using recruitment consultants, it's worth you looking into your own efforts. As you said, before, you're working with marketing companies who aren't even, because I guess they have their specialism and focus. They might be B2B marketing agencies and whatnot, and that's their specialism. But when it comes to actually marketing themselves to attract talent, I guess it's a different ball game, isn't it? A little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got a marketing guy here who does a lot of our marketing efforts and is big in promoting us and getting us involved in awards and this and that. And it's worth having some form of internal marketing individual, if not an individual, using someone like yourselves, like your like your employers doing. It's you do need to be whether investing the money or time into that kind of effort. If you're not, then as you say, if you hardly got a website and you're not using recruiters, how is anybody going to find you or even be interested in you?
Yeah, and I think part of that as well for us, that's why it's so important to get in front of our clients and go on client visits, because because we're having to sell on behalf of them, it's hard if we haven't been there and we haven't seen everything being brought to life. I mean, sometimes we'll work with a client and they'll say, yeah, we'll have a quick Teams call, we'll send you the spec and get on and do it, but that's just not enough. So I think my advice to those companies who are reaching out to recruiters is let them in, welcome them in, show them around the offices, show them where they'll be sitting, because even simple things like us going on the drive in, when we're talking to candidates, so it's an easy drive straight up the M1, you come off at this junction and then it's right there, but we don't know that unless we've been there and we've had a look around and got that real feel for it.
And show us all the quirky sides to the company as well.
Yeah,
that's what we want to see.
People want authenticity, don't they? So I think if I'm working with a recruiter and they don't want to come into the offices or haven't suggested that themselves, then that's probably a bit of a red flag for me as an employer. How are they possibly going to be in a position to sell the culture, the environment, the business, if they've not even met you face to face, let alone seen the environment, met the people, and really get a breed for it? So I mean, we as a business, we're mostly more about long-term existing relationships with clients. I always find when you're sort of jumping from new business to new business in the recruitment industry, you never really get to know your clients and really get to know them well. So it's more very big on sort of long-term relationships and really understanding them. But yeah, if you're in the recruitment industry, you need to go out and meet your clients and get your ability to sell and as you say, help them find that dodgy office that is around the corner, and behind the factory, the GPS never shows you quite to the right place is also important as well.
Exactly. To explain, I know it looks dodgy, but go inside and it's actually really nice. Don't judge a book by its cover from the outside.
And I think there's certain things as well that they may not realize is actually a really cool thing about them. Like, for example, I've got a client who their whole office is Doctor Who themed. They've got a huge TARDIS in the middle of the room, but for them they're used to that and it's normal, and they didn't even mention that. And then I went in there and I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I was telling candidates about it. They were like, right, I need to see that, I need to go in, even if it's just to see that.
That's going to be a proper Marmite situation, I think.
They're actually going to hate it, or they're going to be like, that is
all my
so
friends
cool.
rinse me for liking Doctor Who, but it's just on cycle for me constantly. But I think in terms of just trying to attract new talent in this candidate-driven markets, companies need to either up their marketing efforts, solid websites, or use recruiters and tools around them. In terms of once you've got the candidate through the door and you've got them at the first stage interview process, this is where there's so much competition in the market and so many other opportunities for the really good candidates that you now need to step up in terms of, not step up at all. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you, as employers out there, you're doing it well as it is. But looking at your interview processes, trying to streamline them processes to make sure it's as quick and efficient as possible. Not have candidates, make sure candidates are aware from the very beginning what the process looks like, what they can expect in terms of timelines, who they'll meet, what the expectations are, to ensure there's a smooth interview process. And of course, again, this comes to your relationship with your recruiter as well. As if you and your recruiter are on the same page and are advising candidates of the same sort of things, then a bad interview process, a slow interview feedback, extra processes that weren't expected, just puts the candidate in a negative perspective. What's it going to be like when I actually work there? Is it just going to be constant changes and unpredictability? It is a reflection of what the day-to-day might be like, for sure.
Well, I actually had an interview on Monday and my client got the wrong CV, and for about half an hour interviewed a guy that he didn't even know.
Is that your fault or their fault?
It was his fault. He rang me. He's like, I didn't see this, and he was like, I've got the wrong name, and I was like, that's great, isn't it? No, he was like, I actually really like him, Hannah, and I was like, we'll see what he thinks.
That's a nightmare. And I think it's so important as well, all the time we get clients telling us, well, can the candidate not call in sick? We want to see them this week, and that, this, that, and the other. But then sometimes you get clients who, they're like, oh, we can't interview them for 2 weeks. So as much as you want a candidate to be flexible, the company needs to be flexible. You might have an internal meeting, but is that more important than seeing this candidate before they get snapped up with someone else?
So as a recruiter, you're the middleman. You're managing expectations on both the client and candidate side, and it's your job as the recruiter to make sure the process runs smoothly as possible. For not only if the candidate, for instance, is cancelling interviews or being long-winded about booking things in, that puts the client in a negative perspective, and it's the exact same the other way around. So I mean, all you can do as a recruiter is stress urgency on both sides.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, the client's got other people in play, they're really keen to see you, let's get this done as soon as possible. On the other side, you can put stress urgency on the client side, that they've got other interviews and they're coming up to offer stages if you're interested in this person. So I guess it's just it's the recruiter's job to make sure that there's dialogue there, and that both the client and candidate are aware that if there's any need to move quicker on certain candidates. I mean, it's not the client's fault, for instance, if they're like, oh, we're interviewing them in 2 weeks, but you've not told them that they've got offers and final stage interviews this week. So it's just all about communication and just being transparent and honest, and that's what the smooth process is, really.
And I think the communication needs to stay even after you've offered. I mean, sometimes I'll call up a candidate and say, I've seen your CV on the job boards, and they're like, well, I've actually accepted an offer today, but I still want to hear about your one. Which to me as a recruiter is so scary, because an offer accepted is never someone through the door, because there is that during that notice period, anything could happen. They could get another offer from something they were waiting for feedback,
especially in this market.
So I think my big advice to my clients all the time is don't be complacent. If you want them, keep them engaged. Even once you've sent through their contract, offer letter, things like that, keep them engaged throughout the process. I mean, for me, when I actually started at this company, I had a 6-week wait until I was able to start the company. But in that time, they actually invited me to go tank driving with everyone. So I hadn't started yet. It was about 3 weeks. It was about 3 weeks after I received the offer, and I got a call from our MD, and he said, look, we're going tank driving today. Do you want to come with us? And I thought, what? I mean, I said yes, and I went. I've
heard some incentives before. I've never heard of tank driving. I'm sold though.
But I mean, for me, that was good, because a 6-week wait is a long time for me. I was ready to start straight away. They had a couple of things they needed to sort out, so it was good that they kept me engaged during that time.
It's good. It's also imperative, I think. I've been in recruitment far too long. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. The surprises that come out are ridiculous. But as you say, even once somebody accepted an offer, as you mentioned, someone said to you, oh, I've accepted an offer, but I'm still looking. Look, we're always trying to sniff out red flags, reasons not to work with candidates. And the older you get, the more experience you get, the more red flags you see in everybody, and you do become a little bit skeptical about everybody. But it's healthy, I think. It's an unhealthy mental illness.
Unhealthy.
Advising paranoia is probably not the best thing to do, but it saves you a lot of pain in the long run.
Creeps into your day-to-day as well.
Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough. But your advice to employers is, even though they've signed a contract, all the way throughout the notice period, these candidates can be counter-offered still. Just because they didn't get counter offered when they first hand the notice, it doesn't mean they won't get counter offered in a week or two. I always use the analogy that, like, when you pitch a job to a candidate and you've lighted the flame of interest, right? And as days go by and they go to play football, or they go to the gym, or they watch TV, that flame over time just dwindles of interest and understanding the role. So once they've accepted the job, I'm sure they're buzzing about the new job, but over the weeks, like, that flame starts to dwindle, and it's our responsibility to keep fanning the flame of interest. We need to keep on top of them. And if the employer won't do it, you as the recruiter have to do it. Take them out for dinner, make sure they will. But getting them involved in any team events that is coming up is key. We talk about Hunter, one example. If we're hiring a recruiter similar to yourselves, we'll take them out to lunches and dinners and get involved in the incentives like yourself. So it's important that businesses are doing that, and that's a great way to ensure that there's no dropouts, really, or surprises.
I think especially at this time of the year, like last year this time, you're really busy and you have people wanting to start in January now. But from November to January, it's a very long wait, and that's where you have to keep them engaged.
Do you try and encourage them to start as soon as possible, or are you happy for them to?
Well, it's really weird, because last year this time, everyone wanted to start in November, December, they were ready to go. Now, it's all right, I want a little bit of a break. I want to start in January.
Yeah, we have a lot of bonuses in our market, doing like fintech and stuff. So like we're in bonus season, so people aren't even willing to hand the notices in until they get their bonus at the end of December. So it's like we pretty much have offers that they want to accept, but we now have to wait a month for them to potentially get bonuses before they even hand the notice in.
It's
so
the same in sales roles.
Nervy.
It's the same in sales roles. They want to leave, and they're going, but we're going to get our end of year bonus. I'm going to have to wait, and can't force someone for not getting their, bonus.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I've touched on this already, but I think I did. But us as recruiters, of course, it's our job, working with an employer to sell these businesses and the culture, the environment, and whatever. But look, candidates, I think, look at recruiters and take recruiters with a pinch of salt. Obviously, what we do is we're completely honest, transparent. That's a big key selling point for Hunter Bonds. But who better than the businesses themselves to actually sell themselves a little bit? I find interviews can be very one way. Especially we do technology recruitment. So our developers go into an interview and they're just challenged on coding, and then they go, great, see you later, and then they leave. And it's like, it only takes maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes for the hiring manager to just sell themselves a little bit to get that candidate a bit more engaged and interested in the opportunity, because their word is probably a bit stronger than our word. And in the interview process, don't just make it the hiring managers that always interview them, but get them to have conversations with potential colleagues as well, other people who've joined there recently, and why they've joined, how they're getting on, how they've been measured into the team, because all of that is just going to give more and more weight or more comfort to them making the leap to join this business. It's always a risk, isn't it, joining the company? And if there's anything you can do as the employer to diminish that risk factor in the candidate's decision, then they're going to be more open to joining you over somebody else where they don't really get to hear much about it, who they are, why. I
think it's more important in this market because they are going on so many interviews. You have to make, as a company, you need to stand out. You have to be rememberable. People have to go, oh, I want to work there and this is why. And you need to sell yourself, definitely.
100%. I think the final thing to touch on as well was, retaining talent. So once you've gone through this whole process of, you've attracted them through your marketing, your interview process is brilliant, you've sold yourself, and look, you've offered them, you've taken them out to tank driving, and they finally started. We want to then try and retain talent. And I think the key here, I think there's a couple elements here. In the interview, you need to be real in your expectations with the candidate. There's nothing worse than selling a dream. Of course, there's selling the business, but you don't sell something that isn't realistic. So that when they join, they're like, oh, this isn't what I expected. Yes, you've got them through the door, but how motivated, how keen they're going to be? If anything, they might stay for 3 weeks and then probably leave and find something else because you've missold them a job. And if anything, you've just wasted 3 weeks of your own time, because you're going to spend time training them, getting all the resources, everything set up. So in the long run, it's just a waste of your time. So be real on what the expectations are in the interview process is key, I think, for retaining talent. But a big thing is, I think, when people start, you just need to encourage an environment of learning and development, provide successes and wins for that person, make them feel valued as quickly as possible, and get them involved in the team and the culture as quickly as possible, which I know your tank driving is a good element of that. But I think, especially in recruitment, that's the only example I've really got, is that, it's hard to see success at the beginning, and there's a lot of work ethic and ambition and drive that's required and resilience to get over that first hurdle. But if you as management can help people with the understanding, look, this is going to be a slog, and help them up and push them through them hard times, then I think you're going to retain talent a lot better.
I mean, I remember on my first week in this role, every single day my manager was saying to me, your first 6 months is going to be awful, you're going to hate it, it's awful, you're going to want to drive off a cliff on your way home from work. And every single day it was almost, some people, I think it scared them off, but I think that's why they did it.
You're driving home a little bit more.
But for me, it didn't put me off. I was like, do you know what, it just meant every time I had a win, I was like, oh cool, I wasn't expecting this win just yet, so that's really good. So I think for me, it really helped to sort of manage my expectations, because I think, I see posts on LinkedIn all the time where recruiters are brought into a company being sold that, in their first year they're going to make 100k. So when they're not, they're 3 months in and they've maybe made, £500 commission, they're thinking, right, I'm not going to hit that 100k, and already they're demoralized. They think, oh, is the problem me, is the problem the company, and they're going to start looking elsewhere. But if you're honest from the start and your onboarding is so thorough, and you sort of make them aware, like, look, at 3 month mark we'll expect you to get this, you should get this. At the 6 month mark, it'd be great if you could get this, but ideally you should get this. Expectations are managed, and people, they're not going to start looking elsewhere.
Definitely.
I think with that, we've got 2021 grads who joined us last year, and in their first year earn 80 to 100k in their first year. So
amazing.
Look, we can sell that opportunity, but I go very hard on why they've earned that and what's required. I tried to put people off of recruitment, if I'm honest, when I interview them.
My manager did the first time I met her. She really did.
It's because it's not for everybody. You know, only 0.5% of people can actually do recruitment. It's not a labourer's job. You know, we're not on construction sites picking up blocks of cement. We sit at a computer all day. You know, but it's not a particularly good work-life balance. It's the it's the mental strain it puts on you. And that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But there's good rewards of it. So yeah, I think we've fine-tuning your internal recruitment processes, good strong onboarding, make them feel valued. Then you'll hopefully secure candidates in this tough market at the moment.
Brilliant. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you coming on here, Matthew, and sort of giving your advice on that. So that sort of concludes this week's episode. Next week we'll be discussing recruitment, the start of your recruitment career, how to sort of navigate that, the sort of tips and things we wish we'd known. So I'll see you then.
Go back quite a few years to remember my first few 6 months in recruitment. But thank you so much for having me. It was great, and it's made me even think about some of our internal recruitment processes. Always good to get, can't you?